Hello, hello. So today I wanted to share a testimonial, a kind of a testimonial, but the spirit behind a testimonial when you are putting yourself out there and being even more visible. Because I know for some of you, this might be a newish thing for you, but for many of you, you have been out there already for years and you're just wondering how you can reach new people, new audiences, even before you go to things like Facebook ads, even before you start kind of DMing people or have an automated strategy to get more of your work out there, specifically your work out there. So I'm looking down because I've got some notes on my other phone here. I heard from somebody that I'd worked with a few months ago, and as part of their getting out there, if you followed any of my work, you know I talk about the ABC to be invisible. Probably a better name for that, but it's the A, the B and the C. And the A is around your audience and audience building. Now, not everybody wants to build their audiences to millions and millions of people. Many people do because they're celebrities, they're well known, they're the face of the brand or something else like that. But for many of you consultants, many of you coaches, trainers, many of you authors, you at least want to see that your audience is growing bit by bit, week by week. So a little strategy that I taught my client, and namely for them, because of the nature of their business, it was all about LinkedIn. So I taught them a little something to do. The sun comes through, and let me just get a better view there. There you go. Lovely view in the background too. Because of where, who their audience is, what their business is about, and how they can demonstrate their credibility best, which they can do through any social media platform or any offline networking group that's relevant to what they do. But on this occasion, we were looking specifically at LinkedIn. And one of the things they wanted to do was to grow their audience there. So they sent me a message. I'd actually sent them an example of something that I was doing in terms of growing my audience somewhere. And they'd sent me back a message and said that, let me just have a look. What did they say? Oh, they said that they have now got a bigger audience too. And quite significantly bigger. So when they thanked me, here's the real thing about testimonials. For me, testimonials aren't just a way for you to flex, aren't just about visibility. Testimonials, so I'm going to move and get a better view, a different view. Oh, there we go, we'll go down this way. Testimonials aren't just a way for you to flex and say, hey, look at me, I'm great. They're a way to demonstrate credibility to your audience, but also to show people a little bit of behind the scenes of what you do. Now, what I'm showing here is just a tiny, tiny piece of the fuller piece of work that I actually do, which is why I thought I'd stop at this lovely spot and, even with a shaky camera, just come to you and tell you about it. So they told me how many connections they've now got over on LinkedIn. And when I went back, I said, wowzers, that's amazing. And, you've been great with your content too, which they really have. I kind of take a peek over and see how they're doing now our work is finished. And the content that they share, the way that they show up, the way that they're visible has been amazing too. And they thanked me and said, it's all down to you. Now, some of you think that I am a person that kind of comes across as being, it's not about me, or I'm being humble. And that's not actually true. Here's what I recognise in that moment. Yes, I helped them with that technique and that particular strategy, which has helped in turn their people to grow. But as I responded to them and asked them where they were at the start, I think they went from like 165 and they've gone over the 600 mark in a relatively short space of time. Now, you might think, but that's not going viral, that's not millions. Seriously, if you had 20 new people that you could speak to about your business this week, tell them about what you do, let them know what you stand for, let them know a bit about your products, your services, or your values. Would you really sniff at that? If you don't know what you're doing with 10 new people, 20 new people, 100 new people, 600 new people, it's going to be really difficult to know what to do with 1 million too. So whether you've in the past decided to buy followers, which on any platform I never recommend you do, then it's kind of good to know what to do with them. But here's the real lesson of this story. I congratulated them. I thought what they did was wonderful. And I said, that's a really good effort on your part. They said, yeah, but I definitely didn't understand it until you explained. And it's a massive win in terms of things to teach people, especially when you're starting out. And I recounted a story of a client that I'd worked with before. And we did the same piece, as in looking at how to grow their audience, build their business, grow their credibility. And this person was an avid offline networker, which actually I am too. This is kind of how I started in the visibility thing. I'm not a social media trainer. I'm not a social media manager. I can help you to get visible with what you share on social media, but it's visibility that I specialize in. So I shared that, I remember working with one particular client who was awesome at what they did. And again, multifaceted, multi-talented. So they did a couple of different things. And I gave them very similar advice. All they had to do to consistently and steadily grow their audience with a little bit of effort, of course, but not too much. But guess what? They literally grew their audience by about 50 people. And in a longer space of time. And here's why that happened. When I work with different people, be they clients or be they teams in corporate settings or be they executives or be they people really wanting to land their speaking and presentations, I don't just generically pluck out of the vibe system and trot out do this thing, this thing, this thing. I look specifically at who your audience are. I look at what your business is about or what you're aspiring to do. And I look at the best and quickest way to build credibility. And I've often been quoted as saying small, if you think of a London cab with the small wheels, they move these massive black cabs around. But the smallest thing that you can do that will make the biggest difference is what I look out for you. So 2 people, 2 businesses, one was established, one was a new startup business. It was a new startup that actually grew their audience much quicker, got more engagement, has had people reaching back out and connecting with them than the person that had been in business for a long time. And that's not to do with whether you're starting or whether you've been in business for a long time. And yes, I said that in the right order. This is to do with how you are. With any kind of coaching, any kind of mentoring, any kind of training, it's your responsibility to pick up what the person puts down and move with it. Otherwise, you'll find yourself months later, a year later or more saying, well, that didn't work, that wasn't very good. And a lot of people that I work with, that's not what they're about. So have a think about some of the people you've worked with and what actually made the difference. Yes, your skills, your services, your training, your products, the way that you worked with them would have definitely influenced them in a big way. But actually, what was it that they did that made a difference? Have a think about that. And if you haven't already, maybe go back to them and ask them for a testimonial. Although this one was a kind of just a comment really that was shared, not even intended to be. So have a think about that. Go back to those people or have a look at some of the things they've sent and let's see what you can do even in the next few weeks. Bye for now.